What's up, everybody? It's me, Chris, once again, here to break down UFC 91 Couture vs. Lesnar. Hoping I can fit all these fights in on one video, so let's get to it. First fight, or main fight. First fight I'm going to talk about is for the UFC heavyweight title, Randy Couture versus Brock Lesnar. Randy's been off for a little over a year. He had the dispute with the UFC, left, he's back now, defending his title. His last fight, he stopped Gabriel Gonzaga, TKO'd him in the second round. That was a fight a lot of people thought he might lose going into it just because of the size difference, and Gonzaga looked good before that fight, but Randy took care of him. Brock's coming off the decision win over Heath Herring in his last fight. The first punch, he looked good in that fight. He landed the first punch, knocked Herring down. After that, he pretty much just controlled him, held him on the ground. Almost similar to a wrestling match, you know. Not the most impressive victory, but he won nonetheless. So, big factor going into this fight. Well, there's a lot of factors going in this fight, but Randy's 45 now. Age is obviously a factor, possibly, you know, but who's to say? Randy's always been able to overcome that obstacle as if it's not one at all. So, we'll see. A lot of people are saying Brock Lesnar doesn't deserve this fight. Whether it be because he doesn't have enough fights or he hasn't earned it inside the octagon as far as beating contenders. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't really matter because the fight's made. And it's a close fight to call, you know. Brock's got the advantage in size, strength, probably in straight-up wrestling ability and athleticism. And Randy's got the advantage in everything else. Fight experience, you know, just a well-rounded fighter. He's got better submissions. He's got better stand-up. He's got better wrestling inside the cage, I think, as far as adapted to MMA. You know, he's able to use it effectively. His clinch is Greco-Roman style and all that stuff in the clinch. So, anyways, I'm going to go with Randy Couture by decision. As I said, aside from size and strength and all that stuff, Randy's got every other advantage in this fight. A lot of people, you know, including myself, have always doubted Randy in many fights. The first Chuck Liddell fight, possibly the Tito fight, the Tim Sylvia fight, the first Vitor Belfort fight, and he just seems to always overcome the odds and always seems to pull it out, you know. Other than the fact that he's had the long layoff and the age difference, the size difference, I don't see any reason not to pick him. And, you know, this being Brock's Lesnar's his only fourth fight in MMA, I just don't think he has the intangibles at this time to beat Randy Couture. Maybe a couple of years from now if he had more experience, but not at this point. You know, I just think Randy's too experienced. Randy's proven time and time again, regardless of size, style, whatever the case may be. The guy just overcomes, you know. He's one of the best fighters of all time for a reason. Multiple-time heavyweight and light heavyweight champion, and I'm tired of doubting the guy. Whenever I've always doubted him, he's always proved me wrong. So I'm going to go with Randy Couture by decision, but Brock could very well win this fight, and if he does, I think it'll be by decision either way, but I'm going with Randy by decision. Next up, we got Kenny Florian against Joe Stevenson. Joe Daddy Stevenson, that is. Kenny's coming off the decision win over Roger Huerta. Joe Stevenson's coming off a guillotine win over Gleason Tebow. Before that, he had the title lost to BJ Penn. This is an interesting fight. Both guys are well-rounded fighters. Kenny's probably better on the stand-up. He may be better on the ground, but I don't know, you know. I think maybe you might think he's better on the ground. People might think he is. But Joe Stevenson's a good judo fighter. He recently just got his black belt in judo and jiu-jitsu, so I think he can keep up with Kenny on the ground. But as I said, Kenny's going to have an advantage on the feet, in my opinion. I'm not really a Kenny Florian fan, to be honest. I know he likes to try to cut people with his elbows and win that way. And I'm just not a fan of that, you know. If you're going to win, win. If you're going to try to win by a cut, I just don't really respect that, you know. I mean, it's all fair game, but it's just not something I appreciate as a fight fan. So, either way, this should be a good, close fight. I don't know if the winner of this is going to get a title shot next against BJ or if they're going to have to fight Shirk first. But I'm going to go with Kenny Florian by decision. I'd prefer Joe Stevenson to win, not because I want to see him fight BJ again, because I don't think he can beat BJ Penn, nor do I think Kenny Florian can. But I just think that Kenny having the advantage on the feet is going to work for him. You know, plus he's a little bit bigger than Joe is, and Joe had trouble in his first fight in the UFC. outside of the Ultimate Fighter competition against, he lost to Josh Neer. And I think Neer's size and stand-up is what was the advantage in that fight. And I think Florian's going to be able to utilize that those same advantages. On the ground, I think they're going to be able to cancel each other out. So, I don't think one of them is going to have a huge advantage over the other. So that's why I think Florian's advantage on the feet is going to help him win a decision here. Next up, we have Gabriel Gonzaga versus Josh Hendricks. Gonzaga's coming off a first-round Kimura win over Justin McCauley. Before that, he lost to Fabricio Verdum. Hendricks, he beat some guys coming into this. I've never heard of the guy before. He's got a 15-4 record. I've never seen him fight before. He can win the fight. Anyone can win, as we saw by the Junior Dos Santos victory over Fabricio Verdum at UFC 90. However, I'm going to go with Gonzaga. He's probably the better fighter standing, although I can't say that's for sure. And if Hendricks is a wrestler, if he takes Gonzaga down, Gonzaga's more than likely going to submit him. So I don't see really where he has any advantages in this fight. And I think they kind of want to get Gonzaga win the UFC, that is, because, he's a guy I think they want to build up to a future contendership down the road. So I'm going to go with Gonzaga by submission. Next up, we got Damian Maia versus Nate Quarry. Maia's 8-0, undefeated still. He's coming off the rear naked choke win of Jason McDonald. Nate Quarry's coming off the lackluster, not because of him, decision win over Caleb Starnes, where Caleb refused to pretty much engage in that entire fight. What can I say about this fight? Quarry's the better stand-up fighter, although Quarry's not a great stand-up fighter technique-wise. He does have strength in his hands and his punches. Damian Maia, sick jiu-jitsu fighter, one of the best, if not the best, in the UFC. Basically, his game plan is to get you to the ground, and he's been successful in doing that with a win over McDonald and Ed Herman, and I believe he has another one in the UFC. I think, Quarry's been training with Team Quest for the longest time. He's not with them anymore, so he's going to have an advantage in wrestling, but I think eventually Damian Maia is going to be able to get him down, and if he doesn't take enough damage getting to that point, I see him being able to submit Nate Quarry pretty easily. Nothing against Nate Quarry's ground defense. It's just Damian Maia's on a whole nother level. So I see Damian Maia winning by submission. Not really for sure what round, first or second, something like that. Next up, we got Amir Sadallah, the most recent winner of the Ultimate Fighter, against Nick Catone. I don't know anything about Nick Catone except for the guy's 5-0. What I do know is that when they bring in these guys, these Ultimate Fighter winners, they want them to give them easy fights so they can get a lot of wins in a row, so it shows, they won for a reason. They don't want their Ultimate Fighters losing fights, Unfortunately, that just happened for them recently with Mac Danzig, but this fight, regardless of Catone's record, and this being Sadallah's only really, second pro fight, those Ultimate Fighter fights were not counted on your pro record, except for this most recent one over CB Dalloway, where he ended up winning the title, the Ultimate Fighter title, or whatever you want to call it. But Nick Catone, 5-0, but his last three opponents had losing records, and one of those opponents had an 0-4 record. So sometimes you got to look more into a guy's record than just what the numbers are. And Catone's numbers aren't very impressive from what I've seen. So, like I said, they want to get Amir a win here, so I'm going to go with Amir. I don't know if it's going to... Catone's a wrestler, I believe. Sadallah's more of a stand-up fighter, but as we've seen, he has good submission, so I'm going to go with Sadallah either by submission or TKO, but either way, I think Amir's going to get the win. You know what, I don't think I'm going to have enough time to do all the fights on one video, so I'm going to stop here. I think that was the main card, and I'm going to do the undercard in another video, so I'll be doing that ASAP, hopefully right after this, okay? So, till then, I'm out of here.